Welcome, everybody, to the Grand Old Game Room 2019. And I'm Brent Griffith, and this is my co-host of the Broken Token Classic Arcade and Pinball podcast, Whitney Roberts.
Yeah.
And yes, I said it all.
You said it all, but we're only going to say it once. How about that?
Oh,
Yep.
all right, fine.
Yeah.
If I'm limited, at least I got it out.
You got it out. Yeah, good job.
And this panel is a collector spotlight or a collector focus type panel. And we have as our guest, Miss Belle Wheeler. And we're just going to speak with Belle a little bit about her collection, or actually the collection that her and her husband have. So, which maybe we'll get into that, how much of it's hers and how much of it's his. We'll have to see. Because she's definitely, unlike me, very opinionated on the positive side for some games.
Yes.
So
yes.
All right. So Belle, let's just start out kind of with the basics. Name, rank, and serial number. No.
Well,
So what do you all primarily have in your game room in terms of arcade video? What do you all have?
definitely pinball. We have, most consoles really, but our major focus is pinball.
Okay.
So consoles. Interesting point. So you didn't mention arcade games
He
there.
is such a console
We
person.
have a
yeah.
homemade multicade.
Okay.
Yeah, and that kind of does it for us for that. And really, it's just because it's kind of beyond our expertise. Arcades, we've just never found one that we were so in love with that we had to buy. And how do we do this? By the way, we'd be calling you guys.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough.
You have to listen to 85 episodes, and we apologize for that in advance. So just don't even bother with it. How about that?
And we hear that a lot from
Yeah.
folks that we interact with. Some people don't like the multicade, and personally, I'm kind of a fan of it. If it's a space thing, if it feels that. What difference does it make? If it works for you,
Yeah.
hey, that's great.
Yeah.
So anyway, consoles.
Well, I don't want to make it console heavy, but definitely a fan on the console side for sure. So, how do you guys bridge that as far as playing consoles, playing pinball? I mean, do you find yourself gravitating towards one or the other, or you split your time? I mean, how does that work?
Me, definitely pinball.
Yeah.
I've always been a huge pinball fanatic. Even when I was a kid, I've never walked past one and not played it. Just anywhere there was one.
So tell us a bit how this starts, because in our podcast we are admittedly lacking the fair voice. How about that? So this is a great panel to get that perspective, because
Well,
Brent,
I think I'm kind of a nice person.
well, you know what I'm saying here, Brent.
We've long established it. No,
Exactly.
I know.
I want to say it without saying it, but you know what I'm saying. Without saying it. But no, I'm kind of curious as to how that starts. So you say you never walk past one without playing it. That's conviction and that's passion.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that start for you?
Honestly, I don't even remember. I mean, it was literally from childhood. If there was one in a movie theater, if there was one in a laundromat, if I knew where there was one, I went and played it, even if it was broken.
Yeah.
Mostly they were. Let's be honest.
Yeah, let's be honest. That's right.
But it was okay at that point. I have gotten pickier since I have my own mechanic.
There you go. Yes.
So let me ask, and obviously, we don't want to get super specific. I'm not asking for addresses or anything. But, what part of the country do you all live in?
We live in North Carolina in the mountains.
Okay.
So maybe there are not as many there.
And-
It's not we don't live in a big city.
So, and where I'm going with that is that where you grew up?
Yes.
Okay. So Whitney and I have had the conversation before on the show. We live 30 minutes apart. I'm more city side. He was
I'm very rural.
very rural.
Yes.
And our experience in the day of the arcade was very different because of the locale.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had opportunity even in your area. Would you characterize it as rural, or is it more city? Well, you said the mountains.
Very rural.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of a tourist area. There are
Okay.
a lot of tourist destinations, very seasonal, things. So there maybe are a few more things as far as that, but as far as I know, there really are no other major collectors in the area.
Oh.
So you think that maybe is what brought the pinball in because of
Yes.
it? Okay.
Maybe
all
if
right.
I had more access to an arcade,
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like
Well,
it. So it's
even me, Whitney, you
it's-
didn't see pinball on location in the day,
Oh,
did you?
no.
didn't.
I mean, I didn't really get into pinball until, let's see, 7, 8 years ago, because I was a child of the arcades on the weekends. I'd go with my brother, and we'd just get to play. I grew up on a farm in a very rural area, so I just got to play arcades in once a week.
Belle, you
if
need
that.
a podcast. You've got
Yeah.
more cred than we did.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we've already established
we've
that
already
now.
got this.
So, no,
All
but-
right, that's it, Whitney. We're out.
Yeah, we're done. Yep. But no, it's one of those scenarios where I didn't have access to pinball at all growing up, and so outside of just playing it very sporadically, it just wasn't available to me until much later in life, and then. Here I've been collecting arcade games for 10 plus years, and now my collection is pivoting. It is definitely turning towards pinball, and I'm actively looking at all these arcade games and saying, that's not going to make the cut. That's not going to make the cut. That's not going to make the cut. I need a Black Knight. That's not going to make the cut. That's not going to make the cut. You know.
I'm glad someone-
sensitive subject.
I'm glad someone's going to buy. Yeah, so one of the two
I
of
said
us.
that on.
yeah.
I said that on purpose. But anyway. But you know where I'm going with that.
All right, so you've got a long established history of playing them. What was the turning point of owning one? Was it a
Yeah.
realization I could have one of these at home, or was it to the point where you had?
Well, it's a really dumb story.
Yeah, but
you don't even
so-
want to know how Whitney and I met. Go ahead.
Exactly. Hey, the thing is, we've got an hour,
There's
so
no dumb stories.
let it
just
roll.
Good stories. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We were in Gatlinburg, and there are some small arcade setups for pinball there. Sean had you ever played a pinball table? A little, yeah.
Okay.
This was many years ago.
Okay.
And we found a Transformers set up. Somebody had put a bunch of credits on it. So I, of course, just started playing it.
Free
And-
games. I mean,
Yeah, it was
doesn't
free
matter if a
games.
flipper's broke. I won't play it.
And so Sean comes over and he starts playing it. And we were walking on the street afterwards. There wasn't a whole lot of discussion. And he's like, that was pretty fun. I really liked that. And we were just kind of joking around, laughing. And there was a girl walking ahead of us. I'm not trying to be mean at all, but her outfit was a little ridiculous. And I pointed at her and I'm like, wow, what would you buy me if I don't wear that outfit?
The first pinball machine comes through.
And I got a Dr. Dude like really quickly.
did you?
Yes,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's
And so for people that aren't in the area, and I went there a lot and I love it. And the joke is you said Gatlinburg.
Yeah, it was Gatlinburg.
All right, so Gatlinburg is it's a very touristy location.
Definitely.
You walk the street up and down the hills. It's all small shops and craft shops and
pancake houses.
yeah.
And stuff like
You get
that.
down into Pigeon Forge, which is the redneck Riviera. That's what we like to call it. I don't know if you've ever heard
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Which is Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge are awesome, but that's kind of the setting that you're in, experiencing this.
Yeah.
And shortly thereafter, you ended up with a Dr. Dude.
Yes.
So was it like ready to go? Did you have to jump in? As most
No, it
people
was
do, and
in
had to
great
fix
shape.
it?
No, it was in great shape. We've kind of gotten half and half on that.
Okay.
It doesn't really affect our decision very much because we don't care to tear them down.
I like that
or fix
attitude.
them.
Don't care.
Yeah.
That's another insight. We can get into that later. All right. So you all get in and work on them.
Yeah, and we've got 10 right now, and that's about all we can fit. So we kind of, we'll trade in and out. We're probably going to get one coming up, so I'll have to sell something, and that's kind of.
So have you guys built like a game room out of a portion of your house, or
Yeah.
I mean, are they in the kitchen? How does that go?
We do have an arcade room in our
excellent.
basement. It's great. It's got the big screen with the consoles on it and the couches. It's a nice game room.
Yeah.
And then my Monster Bash lives in the office because it's the Monster Bash and it can live wherever it wants.
I got that. So what's the collection look like? Give us an idea of the years and the systems that you span and stuff like that.
Well, I've got Dr. Dude, Party Zone, The Shadow, Funhouse, Fire.
Oh, you've got a fire.
Yeah,
Nice.
I lucked out on the fire. It's a really nice fire.
Oh, yes.
Dracula, Demolition Man, Star Wars Episode 1, and Monster Bash.
Excellent.
So it seems like you favor the 90s, early 2000s type
Yeah,
titles.
definitely. Oh, and I have a Star Trek. I forgot the Star Trek. That's my only one that I've ever bought, new in box. The
so you have
Stern
one of the
Star
new Star
Trek.
Treks.
Stern Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good choice, though.
Everybody up here has a Star Trek but me.
But Britt, you don't care.
Oh my gosh.
How do you feel about that?
I feel really bad because I love that game. Honestly.
It is a great game. It's a great
We'll
game.
get into later off mic why I don't have one, but that's all.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a whole other conversation.
So with that type of collection, you say you're at a point where some have got to go out before another comes in.
So Monster Bash is leaving.
What?
No.
Yeah, it sounds like that's a solid no on that.
I leaned out out of her reach when I said that.
That's a good idea.
So are you all able to connect with other folks in the community? I mean, that's a nice size collection to potentially host folks or anything like that. But I didn't know if there are enough people in the community that you guys can play with at times, or is it pretty much just fire up the game room on a Saturday night and go have fun with it? Or
It's pretty much just us. We do have some friends that come over, but we don't really have any other collectors or people that are as fanatical as us about it.
Gotcha.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's fine.
So you mentioned not a lot of folks around, not a lot of collectors. Sounds like you're a little off the beaten path. What's it like to get a new game? And by new, I don't mean like a new Stern or a new whatever in box that you could potentially have brought to your door. Right. If you're looking for a title, or is it just a 200-mile radius?
You have to be willing to drive. Yeah. And I think at times when we have been selling tables, I think sometimes that's a little bit of a factor for us in our ability to sell things.
Yeah. You know what I've learned? She's in the table faction.
Exactly.
This was a whole discussion earlier this weekend.
Yeah.
Table versus machine, which was entirely new to me. And now all of a sudden, it's kind of like when you're shopping for a car and all you see is that car. Now everyone has said table in the last 20 minutes. Yeah. It's just...
Yeah. It's a machine that holds a table.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I get off on these tangents. Well, anyway, this is not about me. Yeah. So we can kind of, and I say we as I'm looking at it from Whitney and I's perspective. If we're thumbing through Facebook, or if anybody still Craigslists anymore, we have a little bit of an opportunity. When you look for a game, is it more, okay, I want a game and I know a genre and then I've got to go out and search? Or deals can kind of cross us is where I'm getting to. And it sounds like you're not in that boat. So how do you all, what's your all's thought process on?
We have used
acquisition.
Yes. We have been using recently the Pinside wish list. If we want a game, we put it on our wish list and then it notifies you if one comes up for sale. Yeah. Craigslist is not the thing anymore. When we initially started, it was. But we've just been using Pinside for the most part.
So, and how long have you all been collecting?
I can't really remember. It's been several years.
Long enough back where it was Craigslist being a thing.
Yeah,
and that's been out probably 3 or 4 years at this point.
Yeah, it's not being a major source.
Yeah, I would say maybe 6-7 years is my guess.
So with that amount of time in the hobby, surely the way that you approach playing the machines has changed. I mean, are you all finding yourself getting further and further into rule sets of the games that you've got and playing for completion and playing for modes and playing for items like that, or is it just fun, kind of bat a ball, light and sound? I'm kind of curious as to where the years take somebody in their pinball journey, because some people start bat a ball, chase the flashing light, and then they progress into, oh man, there's a lot of modes, there's a lot of rules.
Still there, Whitney.
Fair enough, I am too.
Whatever,
I am too. It's just now with newer machines, they're just prettier and more flashing. But anyway, just kind of curious.
He's so rough on me, Bill. He is.
Yeah, it's
so passive aggressive at times.
Yeah, I mean, how do you guys play?
I would say that initially and still now it's whereas he's just aggressive. Don't worry, I know the truth. But no, really the thrill, the flash, all that that was initially sure. I'm not sure how much I've changed. I'm better at doing the modes.
Yeah.
and things like that. So it's more of a thrill to get those modes. But I guess overall, I'm still more of a thrill player.
Yeah.
And I like the faster tables, things like that. So, but everyone I think plays a little differently.
Yeah,
and it's all about your game style.
Yeah, and it's just what pleases you is
Yes,
really what it turns into.
Yeah.
No.
So you mentioned you know, having a machine that has issues isn't an issue, that you're your own mechanics and all that. So how far do you take things? Are you modders? Do you decide I'm going to leave this stock? Do you change things to your liking? Do you just kind of stay with the bulletproof type stuff and Cliffies?
That has been by table for whatever reason. I have a Star Trek that we've done many things to, and it just seems like a great table to do that to.
It's fun to do that, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
It basically looks like a spaceship now. It's got the undercab lights, the trough light, mirror blades. It's very blinky.
Did you?
It's very.
She was so excited.
Like
Did you see
that?
it?
Oh yeah. That's passion right there.
Yes,
I love it.
yeah.
Love it.
And some of them we've just left them. I like to make them as clean and play as well as possible. But just certain tables are good with mods, and some it's fine without.
Do you find that dictates? Not that it sounds like that to have a machine, you have to go really out of your way to get it because of your location. But for lack of a better term, does the amount of love you show it kind of dictate where it is on the pecking order when it comes time to rotate? Because personally, that kind of hits home with me. That's kind of not that I don't like the machines that I've got. I'm space limited. We're all space limited.
Yeah.
But how much love I'm showing a machine, kind of you can figure out.
Yeah.
What the pecking order is.
Where it's time to start.
For nothing but financial reasons. I love pinball because I can always turn around and get my money back. That's what's nice about it to me. With mods, that's not really going to happen.
Yeah.
So that is a factor. Is this a table I'm going to keep? And it doesn't really matter. I'm not worried about. So I think that's kind of a subconscious thing for me, maybe. But yeah, if it's a table I'm going to keep, I really don't care to put some mods on
it. You spare no expense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Star Trek.
Yeah, and it's a great one for that. All the later games just seem to be mod mavens. You can just go off the deep end on mods, and it takes an already expensive hobby and just makes it stupidly upside down is what it does.
So early games, LED or no LED?
Depends on the game.
Okay.
I have a Dr. Dude with LEDs. I think it's great on that. My Shadow, I will not put LEDs in, and I know that's always a topic of debate. Certain tables, it just doesn't look right to me.
Yeah.
When I bought my Star Wars Episode 1, I did put LEDs in it, and it looks so much better. I think it's by table, and some of them, when the flashers go off, you will go blind if it's LEDs because it was not designed for that. There's a couple of tables here that are LEDs. It's like, I can only play one game on that.
Yeah.
So I don't really want that situation.
Yeah. What is the competitive scene like for your area, if any? Because and the reason I ask is there's been some movement around the bells and chimes, and I don't know if you've looked into that or if that's something that's ever come across your news feed or anything like that. But it seems like that's a competitive organization for women playing pinball, getting into that scene. I was just kind of curious: is that something that's available, or is there a chapter close to you all that you hear any news about or anything like that?
I haven't heard about them being around. Within about an hour, Asheville is about an hour from us.
Okay.
There is
right.
a competitive pinball league there.
Okay.
There are a couple of arcades in Johnson City, Tennessee. That's about an hour from us.
Okay.
I think they might have some league play there, but it's limited.
Yeah.
Sean actually, when one of the Johnson City arcades opened up, they were offering a PlayStation 4 for their first place prize for the tournament, for opening, and ours had just burnt out.
Uh-huh.
So Sean went and,
Did you see the look in her? It was almost as if she said, "Of course I did."
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't me. No, I'm not a
Oh,
competitor.
oh.
No, it was Sean.
Oh, Sean. Oh,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the ringer.
Yes.
keep that in mind, Whitney.
Keep that in mind.
So
Exactly.
how much pinball do you all play? Like on a weekly basis?
I would like to play a lot more. It just seems like our daily lives kind of interfere. It is more of a weekend thing.
Yeah.
I would like to play a lot more than I do.
Yeah. So what's the travel like for shows as far as the shows that you all make an effort to go to every year and everything like that? So living in North Carolina, of course, this is reasonably close. Like the Louisville, Kentucky show is reasonably close.
Right.
Probably Atlanta
Yeah.
would be reasonably close. Can you kind of take us through a year in the cycle as you all have done the show circuits and really what you like and what brings you back or what brings you out of North Carolina to go?
We do Atlanta, this one, and Louisville every year, and it's anywhere from 4.5 to 6 hour range for those. And that's fine. That's great with us. I would actually like to do more, but they are a lot further. I would love to do the one in Texas. Is that late
TPF.
March?
Yeah, it's late March,
Yeah.
TPF, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a flight, so that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Whitney, you just actually made it this year, and it's something that I've liked to do, but it hasn't been in the cards. Just get down and experience it.
Yeah.
But hey, we got Louisville.
Yeah.
So
And TPF was great. I mean, it's big. There's no doubt about it. I was able to coincide another trip, so it made it easier to justify.
maybe we should all just plan a trip.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just make it happen.
Just do it.
Ex-
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Just do it and go. So yeah, it was fun. I certainly would go again. There's no doubt about it.
So what? Go ahead, Whitney. I know you want to know. You're dying. What's your console gameplay like?
Mine
Sounds
at,
like. Would you say PS4? You just was that in the mix?
We have almost all of the consoles. They are, I would say, Sean's.
Oh, okay.
I'm more of a Wii player. I like the
Okay.
Wii. Yeah, and I like Nintendo in general.
Yes.
So.
Well, so she's playing pinball. You're playing console. All right, that works out. Back and forth a little
back
bit.
and forth, yeah.
Okay, I understand that. We've almost got Sean up here. We are drawing him in slowly, and eventually we're just going to slide a mic over.
Yeah,
That's what's going to end up happening. So,
No, with the whole, I guess, kind of dichotomy around what do you play when you play, and what do you focus the finances on, and things like that. I mean, how do you guys manage? I guess what you go after and what you want, what's next on the list, and things like that. I mean, I know you said availability, but what would draw you to a new, let's say, a newer title versus an older title, or let's say diverting that money over to console acquisitions or something like that? How does something win in your household? Just curious.
Well, the pinball is largely by chance. The
Okay.
older tables, it's okay, one's popped up. Do we want this? The newer ones, we really have to love it. We really have to and have to have played it normally.
Okay.
But the older ones, because we've been to so many shows, normally we've played them.
Okay.
So and as far as consoles, we're much more lightly into that, so it's not as much into the financial, do we have to worry about this? But I mean, as far as budget...
Or the commitment.
Right, yeah. Yeah, pinball tables are a commitment.
Yes,
so
they
that's
are.
kind of our concern, I
Yeah.
guess.
So is there anything that you're eyeing now, pinball-wise?
I really like the new Jurassic Park. I really do.
Interesting. So what makes you say Jurassic Park over and above everything else that's out there right now?
I'm so afraid to speak in front of
No.
Barbara.
So for everyone that's listening, she's just looking at me. She's giving me the side eye, like, sure. And we've talked about this a little bit on the show. Not this is about you, but so that everyone gets the joke or whatever it is. Personally, I just haven't been in a mindset for new games lately. I've just been a little over it, all told. And the joke has been, don't care. So, and I've played the Jurassic Park, and I've just, so I am a negativity right now on all of it to a certain degree. I mean, I'm enjoying the show. It's great to be out. I'm just not personally in a place where I want to do anything with my collection. You know, I've got enough projects, enough stuff out there. So my little rain cloud, I'm keeping it to myself. But no, Jurassic Park is a blast. So that's what you all have been eyeing.
Yeah. And I have been where you're at. Maybe not to that extreme. You seem pretty extreme right now.
It's a passing phase.
Ask Whitney. When I do something, I do it. I
Well,
don't dabble.
I mean, to that point, though, I think we all get we all get to the point where we ebb and flow on
turned on me, didn't it,
on enthusiasm. No,
Sean, trade me seats. Come on, buddy. Come on.
I'm trying to pull it back. No,
That's why I'm in the middle. I'm trapped.
We all see the ebb and the flow around enthusiasm. There's no doubt because this hobby runs on fuel. And the fuel is burning dollar bills,
yes.
You know, when it comes to that. So I get it.
I just personally, I've got bigger priorities right now. So and
totally
that's
understand.
A lot of
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with Black Knight. There's nothing wrong with Jurassic Park. You know.
So have you closed down Spend Brent's money officially?
No.
Whitney has not. No.
Oh, okay.
I will never close that down because it has to stay running just to keep it top of mind for him. I do it for him.
Yeah,
and all the listeners as well.
That, however you want to justify it. Whatever helps you sleep at night, Whitney, fine.
No, but curious, just back to the question, what is it about Jurassic Park that pulls you? Because there's Elvira, there's Black Knight, there's Batman out there, there's Deadpool, there's the new Star Wars or Star Trek, and then there's a host of other new-ish machines out there. I'm just kind of curious as to why Jurassic Park? Why now?
I really like the shots on the table.
Okay.
I can stand there and play it over and over and over, and I don't get this feeling of, I'm just going to go on and play something else. I can just stand there and play it. And at risk of sounding like a 5-year-old, I really like it when the head on the T-Rex picks up the ball and slings it around.
It is
That's
a cool
great.
mechanic.
Yeah.
So in the premium, I've seen it spit the ball out.
Oh yeah,
like on a wire form.
No, well, it puts its mouth open. It lays its head down, puts its mouth open. You shoot it in its mouth, and then it picks the head up and it slings it around,
and then drops it.
Yeah,
it's really exciting.
Yeah. You may have changed my mind.
No, I didn't. Starting to anyway.
I've not got to really play, but like one game on a premium, and I didn't get to that point. So. Yeah. I'm glad and I understand why it's not in the pro, because there's a lot to make something like that happen.
That's a lot of bill of material.
Oh,
right
yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Yes.
That's cool. All right. I'll take that. I'll buy that.
I mean, there are a lot of shots on that game. There's no doubt. And I mean, Jim and I were playing it last night, and he was taking me through some of the shot completion strategies and everything like that. It seems like there's a lot there to do, and a lot there to do time and time again. Whereas other shots or other tables that may have just more of a traditional kind of fan layout, it's like, you got 7 shots, just go for it, something like that. So, yeah, I was just curious because it's such a personal, thing on what do you like and why do you like it and what's going to justify taking the wallet and getting that amount of cash out to make a move on it.
Yeah.
So I'm always curious as much about the answer as I am, as much about the psychology as I am about the answer, actually.
Yeah.
So
it's a very 5-year-old thing.
That's
there's no doubt about it. Yeah.
That's absolutely fine.
It's absolutely fine.
So when it comes time to move a game on, have you been in a position where a game that you thought would never leave, all of a sudden it's like, sorry, time to break up?
I've never, I do have some. Yeah,
I
do have some that I feel like will never leave. But for the most part, I'm very content with. I've had this machine a few years, whatever. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. It's time for it to go on. I've cleaned it up. It's better now than it was when I got it.
Yeah. And I got the enjoyment out of it at the same time.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So obviously Monster Bash is never leaving.
No.
So is that an original Monster Bash or is it a remake?
It's an original.
Did you see her? She shot Sean in the eye like, it's never going. And he was like, no, it's not going.
So what is it about that title that keeps it nailed to the floor? I mean,
well, I usually will not say this, but it's the theme. I absolutely love the theme, and it has great gameplay.
Yeah.
But I love the theme. It's fun. I even have like a creature from the Black Lagoon on top of it, like the topper. We haven't done the eyes yet, the glowing eyes,
Yeah.
but that might be a project for the future. It's just it's a fun table. When kids come over, they love to play it. It's one of those everyone wants to play that table.
Yeah.
So it's great for us. It's great for everybody else. I just feel like it's one of the better all around.
Yeah.
That title in particular, have you spent a lot of time on a Monster Bash?
Not a significant amount, because I didn't play it, quote, back in the day.
Yep.
So my exposure to it has been more along the line of the remakes, and it's definitely a good game to play. I just didn't have a lot of run with it.
Neither did I.
No,
And-
the remakes, no.
And we had an opportunity to play one at a collector's house years ago, doing a session very similar to this.
Yeah.
And that was it for years that I had seen it. And then recently I've had access to one for about the past year or so, and I get it. That it's a great game. And there's other games though so this is where I'm going with this. Have you found anything that is, there's so much hype around it, and there's a couple games in that Monster Bash class of what people would, I guess, term an A title.
Yeah, Medieval Madness and stuff like that.
I don't see it.
Well, we had a Twilight Zone. I would lump that into that category.
Yeah. Oh,
and
really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I meant the category of everybody wants one.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had found a really good deal on Twilight Zone, and I think it's a great table. But we moved it on. After 2 or 3 years, we just both kind of felt done with it.
Really?
Yeah.
So you think was it the rule set, or was it the complexity, or what? That just causes it not to make the grade over time?
That, and it's so hard to keep running.
Okay.
Yeah,
there's
and there's a lot in it. It was fun, but it always seemed like one of those, and maybe we just didn't have the most stable table.
Yeah.
But it was, you play a few games and it's like, oh man, is this going to break? Or did I get the ball stuck? I would get the ball stuck constantly.
Oh, I see.
I'm really good at that.
That's one of the things I see is so interesting about this hobby, that there is so much out there. There's literally something for everyone. And just because I don't enjoy it doesn't mean the next person doesn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the cool aspects of it to me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, if Twilight Zone is, I guess, kind of put into that category, then what else hasn't made the grade over time? I'm curious, because Twilight Zone is like fairly highly regarded.
Oh, it is. And I'm not in any way. No.
It is personal. It is subjective.
Oh, yeah.
But it did take me a little by surprise that you said that title. So I'm just kind of curious as to what else falls there.
Don't back off.
No,
don't
back
How much stuff
off.
have I even said on the show? It's like whatever.
Yeah.
But that's me. The flip side of that is things that I really like, some titles I have. A lot of people are like, why do you have space dedicated to that?
Yeah.
So it's because it's mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is. It's just this very personal thing. Yeah. And I don't know how I felt about Twilight Zone to start. I can't remember how many of those I had played before. Maybe even just the digital version I had played. You don't see them as much, and my secret theory is because they're so hard to keep running. I mean, they really are. I don't want to constantly have to, we've got to take this apart and do something to it. So maybe that was the deciding factor, is it's the playability's okay, but the ball's going to get stuck constantly, or it's going to break, or there goes the clock again.
Yeah.
I mean.
Have you found any like things that surprised you? Like you've come to a show, total fictitious scenario, and you've played a game that maybe you've played very little or never seen, and then you decide you just clicked with it.
Yes.
And that has caused you to go find that title?
Yes. There's been several surprising tables, like World Cup Soccer. The little game with the.
Everybody, it seems like everybody loves that game.
I love that game,
That's the
and
one
it
with
surprised me that
the
I would.
soccer ball
It's got
halfway
the
up on the
little
right
dog.
and the goal.
Yeah,
oh, the
it's,
dog.
it's
Okay,
got
yeah,
the little
yeah, yeah,
dog
yeah.
on
Okay,
it,
yeah,
and yeah, it's got the soccer ball that spins.
Yep, I
Yeah.
haven't played one in a few years, but
Yeah, those
okay.
are just great fun.
Yeah.
Just and I tend to go towards tables like that. They're not maybe, oh, this is great for every collector, but that's a table everyone wants to play. That's a table I want to play. So I want to go for playable. This is fun rather than I can beat all the modes and it's very technical and I'm not as into that. I want it. It's fun.
Yeah. No, I can completely understand that. So does your collection partly, is it resultant of that? I mean, you mentioned other titles like Fire and things like that, and that's just a great game.
And that is a fun game.
It is a fun game.
They mentioned to me that they had it. Now I let up on that.
Yeah. And Whitney had, I think a couple of years ago, we had mentioned to him that we had it, and he was like, "Oh,
I mean, I make no joke about it. I mean, that's a game that I've secretly wanted for years, and because it's awesome.
I've been in game rooms and that bell rings. It's like,
there it is. There it is. I know when somebody's playing.
That's like the communicator in Star Trek. You can hear it cut through across the room. And it just makes you smile.
It just makes you smile. Exactly. So what's the story on the Fire? How'd you guys find it? How'd you get it? Because they're not the easiest games to find.
We lucked into that one. They had one at Asheville Pinball Museum, and I know TC pretty well, so I had talked to him about it, and he just wasn't willing to do the price that I wanted, so I'd passed on that one, which I was pretty happy about because one popped up in Knoxville not that long after, and I have no idea the story behind this table, but it's absolutely perfect.
Oh.
There's not a scratch, not
Plastics
a blemish.
are good and everything like that?
Yes, and the man gave us an extra set of plastics that he had bought just in case any of those broke. He was like the Uber collector. I was he let us loose in his game room.
Yeah.
We were there for a while. He just left.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
But he was a great collector, but it's absolutely perfect. Everything works. The play field's great. The little flame effect works perfectly, everything. Yeah. So, and I got it for a really reasonable price. So that one, I'm just going to say, was Destiny. Yeah. Someday I might decide to sell it, but it will be to a collector who I think will take care of it and keep it in that condition.
Well, before you ask, I've already asked them to put me on the list.
He asked me 2 years ago, by the way.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So you're going to have to fight over it.
Sorry.
I hate you.
I homed in early on that.
I hate you.
But it was.
I'm actually crying.
Yeah, it was just the ask. How it goes. So when we look at some of the other games that you mentioned, what's like one of your best acquisition stories, your best collection stories? I mean, you say you have to travel to go get the games and stuff like that. I've had to travel to go get a lot of my games, and so there's some oddities that pop up. But what's probably one of the most memorable game get stories that you've got? Well,
there was a spur of the moment one that we really lucked out on. My parents have a winter house in Florida.
Okay.
And they said, "Oh, we have a neighbor that has a pinball table. We're not really sure what it is, but he wants to sell it." And this is a car collector. He has no idea what pinball is, really. He just had a table, and it won't work, so he just wants $1,000 for it, and it was a fishtails. And it was in great shape. The only thing wrong with it was a $7 little plastic part. With
for the up kicker for the. Oh, the catapult?
Yeah, so we did a long weekend, went down to my parents' house in Florida, picked up that fishtails, kept it for a while until I could not stand the sound of the topper going anymore.
How did it go again?
Okay. And you have to do the hand motion.
That will be in one of our blooper reels.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh no. But and it was great. And then we
look at the
sold
time
it.
Here, so I know when to pull it. Okay, go ahead. So I know when to pull it out.
And then we sold it for full price a few years later. We got our enjoyment out of it and really lucked out. And it was a pretty table. It was dirty. The man hadn't done any maintenance, but that we're kind of used to that.
Sometimes, as weird as it sounds, once you get past a point, it almost seems as if the dirt protects it.
Yeah.
I felt that way about the Twilight Zone. It had just been setting in this, and that was kind of an interesting story too. We went up to, we had to drive, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 hours to Virginia to get this table. And it was part of a deal. It was a really good deal. He was selling that and a Mario Andretti at the same time for a very reasonable price. So we went to get it, and we have a tendency to Google Earth anything that we,
Yeah, see where you're going.
Yeah, you just want to know.
Yeah, because you never know.
You're about to answer a question that was my next up. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, you're right there. You're right there.
Well, I mean, overall, we've been lucky, and I'm not saying we weren't,
but
we weren't lucky here, but it was interesting because we had Google Earth this place, and it was kind of one of those creepy buildings beside the road, like looks abandoned, and we're
next to a river.
Oh. Well, no, it was next to a coal mine.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're kind of like, oh, this is weird, but that's okay. It's a really good deal on Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
That's all we were thinking.
Yep.
So we drive up there, pull up to this still creepy building, and when you're there, it didn't look any better. And this man comes out, and he is just draped in cobwebs, like over his hat. And I'm sure he didn't realize. I think in retrospect, he had just been under a table, didn't realize that he came out
covered.
Draped in cobwebs.
But his presentation was that of a serial killer.
Yes, out of this creepy building. And so there was a moment there where we're like, wow, what have we, is there actually a table here?
It's like, this isn't worth it. We're gone. Yeah.
We did not.
Are you doing the calculation on how many people the serial killer could draw in with a great deal on a Twilight Zone, a very niche thing?
And this was Craigslist days. I should mention that.
Yes,
That it was not Pinside that we found this on. So
and Craigslist adds to the creep factor, no doubt.
It did.
Yeah.
So there was, but everything was great. The guy was really nice. Did not realize he was draped in cobwebs. So,
And so you walked out with the Twilight Zone
and a Mario Andretti. We ended up just kind of fixing it up and selling it. It had really, really been, they'd used some creative wiring tactics. And I was a little afraid of the fire hazard. So we fixed it to the best of our, ability and kind of sent that one on its way. But it was just in order to get the Twilight Zone, we got that one.
So what was the building, and were they just stored in this old building?
His grandfather had been a route guy.
Oh, okay.
And this was the remnants of his route, and he had not really had this Twilight Zone out on a route much, probably because it was hard,
Yeah.
But he had several different tables. He had a lethal weapon that wasn't working, just things like that. He just kept the ones that his kid wanted to play.
So was it covered in like coal dust?
Yes.
Okay.
But
Coal dust.
Yeah, she lives by a coal mine.
That's crazy.
But the table, the playfield, everything was good. Maybe that was a little bit of it was hard to keep running aspect. That's not going to be great on electronics.
Yeah.
It was fine as far as like after we cleaned it up,
Yeah.
the playfield, but
Do you not remember the games that I pulled years ago out of a gymnastics studio?
Yes. Yeah. I do.
They were, one of them was a battle zone. And inside, you've got to take half the thing apart to get to the monitor, which is mounted vertically. And it had this white dust all over it. And it was sticky. And and I'm like, what in, and it was everywhere. And it's not like you could take an air compressor and blow it all out. It was the rosin they used.
oh wow.
And these games came from, it was a huge open floor. And the back of the building was like, 2-story, it was 2-level, and you could walk out like on the balcony and see down onto the, where they exercise and they would do their gymnastics. So it was upstairs inside a glassed-in room, and all of them were caked in rosin. So I could only imagine at a building next to a coal mine what you all had.
Yeah, I would think the rosin might be worse. The coal comes right off.
out.
It shot backs right up.
You look a little like your hands are completely black after you work.
Well,
yeah.
Because you're digging in it. But
yes, yeah.
But it does clean up. It
Yeah.
vacuums up.
Cleaning out those games did not help my gymnastic ability at all.
Really?
No. It was kind of a shame, but whatever.
It is a shame.
Got to go with it.
It's definitely a shame. No doubt about
So
it.
is that the most sketch situation you found yourself in, or seemingly sketch?
Yeah, I think so. We've gotten really lucky. We've met a lot of great people.
You know us.
Yeah, but I mean, buying stuff, we've gotten really lucky. Yeah.
Well, have you found that the money on the games in your area and what you're going after today? I mean, have you found that money's continually gone up over time?
Yes.
I mean, you said that
Yes.
you've been really lucky.
Yeah.
Part of that luck is part of the money that's paid on the games versus finding a good deal and things like that. Other
Right.
times you have to buy the good deal. Yeah, and the good
Yeah.
deal is that you get a game for turnkey, but you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Things like that. So I mean, in North Carolina, how's the past 5 or 6 years kind of spread out as far as the economics of the games go? I'm just kind of curious.
Because many arcades have opened up in the past few years, the popularity has gone off the charts, so it's easy
Yep.
to sell one. But I mean, you can look at the price on Pennside and mark it way up from there, pretty much for North Carolina.
Man, that makes it tough.
It is. It's great to sell, tough to buy.
Yeah, tough to
yeah.
buy.
Well, the upside, it sounds like, since you're all versed in doing your own repairs, that barrier to entry is gone. You don't necessarily have to. I know that's the way I look. Do you find yourself doing the same? Okay, well, I'm willing to accept something. I'm gonna have to put a little elbow grease in and come out.
Yeah, we've almost always had to work
Yeah.
on them. I mean, we've bought a couple from collectors that were in great shape.
Yeah.
And that's it, because you go to any of the dealers that are selling one, if it's a used machine. We bought a Ripley's one time that was supposed to be 100% working. I think we worked more on that table than any other table.
It's interesting that the definition of 100% varies.
Yeah, the entire
100% of the time.
entire right side ramp was not functional. Like I wedged.
Did the ball run up it?
Well,
functional.
it went in it, but it's supposed to kick it back out.
I don't- I've never
in
played
several
with
modes.
I've not. That's one game. That and Shadow. I know we've seen several Shadows.
Yeah, seen several.
It shows, but it's been a couple years, and I have not had an opportunity to play one.
I think it's a great playing table. It's really fun. It's very complicated, lots of depth. We have one, and that's the next table I'm going to sell.
Yeah.
It's great. The theme I find a little irritating in the end. I love the gameplay.
The theme you find irritating?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever watched the movie?
It's Alec Baldwin, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been years.
Yeah,
It's really not good. And then the call out.
the last time I cared about Alec Baldwin was Hunt for Red October.
I think it was
He was like 12.
Beetlejuice.
Oh, well, yeah,
yeah.
he was in
Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
film,
I forgot. Yeah, well, he's not really. He's sort of a central character in that.
Yeah.
But Michael Keaton steals that show.
There's one call out that I really can't stand. What is it? The sun is shining, but the ice is slippery, and it's like, what?
What does that even mean?
Yeah, and I've even watched the movie, and I still can't. No,
Yeah.
it's like some sort of code thing.
I say
It
it's
doesn't
like some
even
kind of
matter.
like
It's- but
60s vintage movie spy
yes,
speak.
it
Like
is.
some of the James Bond
and
movies
it says
have that.
and it's just kind of one of those things that when you get it, it's like, well, that's stupid, but and then it just after the 1,000th time, it's like, oh wow, I really can't.
I'm so done
yeah,
with that.
yeah. But the table is great. We did do the alternate translite, which is better. It's not the huge Alec Baldwin head,
yeah.
but that's one of those that the theme eventually has gotten to me.
So do you think, I mean, if you could solve that, do you think it would have more longevity in the collection? Because the playability on it is pretty unique.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
very unique, and ours has the working upper playfield, which I know a lot of the ones that I've played it shows the playfield's not working.
Yeah.
And it is. It's great fun, but really, I'm content to just move on, and we've had that one several years.
Yeah,
So
I got you. So is Pinside going to be the way that you
Yes.
move that
Yeah.
one on? Okay,
Yeah.
all right, fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
eventually, do you feel yourself getting to a point where you've got X amount of space, but eventually you're going to fill all those holes with games that you don't want to move on? You're just
Yeah.
going to work your way through.
Well, we are planning on, finishing out the entire basement.
Oh, so that's the solution. Add more space. Okay,
Yes.
valid.
Man,
That's
I
very
like
valid.
that kind of gusto,
Make
man.
the
That's a good
entire
job.
basement an arcade.
The entire lower half of the house.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
on.
with a bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
Maybe a small guest room.
Fair enough.
Right now, the guests stay
With a
in
pinball
the
machine.
pinball room, and that's like their privilege. You're staying with my pinball
Yeah.
tables. So.
Well, they can just sleep perpendicular under 3 machines
Yes.
and call it, and it's
Yes.
job
Yeah.
done, is what
Yeah.
they do. Yeah.
So, like, if you have guests sleeping down there, do you have like a remote on, like for Christmas lights, and about 3 o'clock in the morning? That's how I think.
That's a great suggestion, but no. No, at the moment, no. I feel like I have some guests that would react badly
yeah.
to
Oh,
that
okay.
at
All
this
right.
time. Yeah.
Okay, all right, just a
You
thought.
don't want to scare the pets or anything like that.
Oh, my dogs, they're so used to it. They really don't pay any attention. Yeah, they're not noise reactive at all. It's really been helpful, I think, maybe for them.
So do they
It's
hang out?
soothing. Yeah.
Do they
Yeah.
hang out in the game room?
They will get under the tables.
There.
Yes.
I was going to ask
Yeah.
that. Do your dogs get?
No. Mm-mm.
Really?
Not right now.
My dog, she does that. She
Yeah.
if I have people over yearly, I try to have a good sized party in December, and invariably with subs and everything, she goes sleep underneath the pinballs.
Yeah.
It's the wildest thing.
Ours do not care. They're very used to it.
That's amazing. Huh. Okay. All right. I thought she was just
No.
like me, odd, but. I mean, she doesn't sleep under the one I sleep under, but still.
Oh, well,
no.
I hope you have it up on something because I happen to know there's not a lot of clearance, and I have, crawling under them, busted my legs on
yeah.
the legs or
Yeah.
came up a little. Yeah. So I hope for your every night purposes.
For every night,
Yeah.
quick escape route.
Yeah, and you must not have much of a mattress either. So.
No,
No,
I just deal with
You
it.
just
No,
get a
that's-
pillow and
Yeah.
you wad up your jacket and call
Oh, yeah.
it job done.
So, are you all doing subs on your games and sound
We
systems?
do
Or is it-
have one that has a pretty big sub, and that just came with it, and that's cool. I don't know that I would go through and add that. We did put a speaker on the inside of Star Trek, an additional speaker, but we didn't cut like a space for it or anything like that.
Yeah, the sound quality on the new games is just unbelievable.
it is amazing.
It adds so much. So, real quick question: how big can your collection get? If you take half that, the lower half of the house, that's serious.
I would like to reasonably limit myself to 15 because how many can you play at one point? But it's kind of I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not so good at limiting. I have 5 dogs. We
Yeah.
did have
Well,
7.
all the listeners of the show know that we're dog people. So
Oh yes, dog people through and through. So yes, awesome. So 15 games, huh?
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
how many can you play at a time? One. But still, if you've got the opportunity and that's your passion, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works. It works out well. I mean, is that something that you guys are you building the basement or kind of finishing the basement out around that plan? I mean, have you worked up a floor plan and stuff like that, or?
Yeah. I mean, I have. Yeah, in my head, I have what I would like, and it is absolutely around. I don't think we would have ever even bothered finishing the basement because it's just us, and the upstairs is enough space for us.
Yeah.
It's the pinball tables.
Yeah. Yeah.
know.
Yep. They,
So
they
how
definitely do that.
How are you all moving games? Is that made a decision like in vehicles you purchase? And
Oh yeah,
has
we
it?
would not.
She's
yeah.
all in. She's like, of course it is. Did you see the look?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, Sean has a Tacoma with the camper back on it, and we say that's a work expense, but really, it
For tax purposes, you may
yes.
want to be quiet at this point.
Exactly.
I did not say for tax purposes.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
I said it's a work.
You did- yeah,
expense.
okay.
Yeah, that's all I said.
Okay. all
Nothing
right.
we have to
Yeah.
strike from
no,
the show.
no,
So we're good.
but it does fit a pinball table perfectly. But yeah,
Excellent.
There you go. Okay.
and we call it his old man car, so because it's a truck with a camper back,
Yeah.
and he doesn't get tickets in it, so it's really useful.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It serves the purpose, doesn't it?
And we found that a lot in the hobby where people that are they're buying games, they're deeply into it, but for whatever reason they can't cross that line and acquire the equipment that comes along with what they're doing. I'm thinking of seriously. I'm thinking of individuals that have multiple games that are constantly moving things around, and they're constantly in the scramble mode, whether they're going to a show or they're acquiring or selling, and they're just not equipped for the hobby they've chosen.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting dichotomy when you kind of look at it from the outside.
Yeah, because 3 pinball machines do not cost what 3 pinball machines cost. 3 pinball machines cost a truck, a trailer, a bunch of toolboxes full of tools.
Yeah, parts.
Many orders to Marco and Pinball Life. I mean, 3 machines cost a lot more than 3 machines, and that's just the economics of it. It's just the way it is.
So Whitney actually asked me a question earlier. We were talking about going through some games. When you all rebuild games, do you do standard rubber? Do you do silicone? We talked a little bit about LEDs, which is such a personal preference, and I get that. That's what's so interesting about segments like this.
I really like the super bands for most of the tables.
Really?
I do.
Huh.
Again, though, I like fast. I want it to play fast.
Well, that'll add to it. There's no doubt.
Yeah. So we use those. When we get a table, unless we've gotten it from a collector, we've always torn it completely apart, cleaned every little bit, put it back together, all new rubbers. That's kind of our standard. We always want to, when we sell it, we want it to be in better condition than when we got it.
Yeah. Completely understand that. Yes, super bands, man. There's like a church on super bands versus not. It's interesting.
I'm afraid to ask. How do you feel about that, Brent?
About
super bands.
So
he doesn't care.
I actually forgot that I don't care.
Wow. We have cured him of apathy.
Yeah, so we have cured him of apathy.
I have used super bands come from, is it Pinball Life? Who has the super bands brand?
I have gotten them from Pinball Life.
They're not an exclusive brand like Pinball Life. You can get them
I did acquire a few of them from Pinball Life years and years ago, and I tried them. They were like so bouncy though. It's just, I don't know. I just couldn't get into the vibe.
You
with
need
them.
to play better pinball.
Yeah,
perhaps
I guess
Belle
can
teach you some tricks.
Yeah.
I just like chaos.
Yeah.
Chaos.
Yeah.
They definitely add to that.
Yes.
There's no doubt.
I have had super bands. I've had a lot of times it's of opportunity. Like if I'm going to order something from Pinball Life, and if I'm going to do standard rubber on a machine, which I tend to do on earlier solid states, I will always do some sort of silicone band on the flippers.
Yeah.
And just for wear, because that's good to me. That's the most impacted point typically. So for longevity, that's what I'll tend to do. But if I'm going to do anything that's a whole game that's no rubber in it at all, I like Titan. So I'll do a specific order out to Titan, and I'll outfit the game.
Yeah.
And then I find myself in this rabbit hole of not only what sizes, but then I'm color matching because it's just So that's the way I go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you do LEDs, do you do kits or do you do your own?
No, we've always just done our own and decided, okay, we want this to be blue, this to be green.
Yeah.
We'll look up what other people have done and see what looks good.
Yeah.
And that's what we go off of. Because with LEDs, I feel like you're open to that because it's not what the table came with anyway. So I don't feel as strict with it. Oh, I need to keep this. It's not original anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll change the color, make it look better.
So I think you do the same. I have a vendor of choice, and I've got a selection of the LEDs that I prefer of
Keep them
the
on
line.
hand. Yeah.
And then I've got one of every color of both bases. And then I will go through and I will test, do I want, like, say if it's a red insert, I'll try the various whites, frosted, non-frosted. I don't like warm, so, it'll be a cool white. And if it's red, I'll try a red and an orange in it to see what I like the best. And then I'll individually, They're both looking at me like I'm nuts. So are you?
No,
No.
I mean,
No,
I do mine the same
Do you
way.
do the same, or do you just...
No, really, with the last one that we did was Star Wars Episode 1. We had found a scheme, kind of,
Yeah.
that we liked.
Yeah.
And again, maybe I'm just more chaos.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean,
that's fine.
it's like, oh, this works.
Yeah, so Sean's like, this is just what I deal with.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, I'll do probably something in the middle. I will always color match the inserts, but then determine whether frosted or domed or something like that. It's going to give the best light dispersion.
Yeah.
But I tend to take liberty with the GI as far as, do I want it cool white? Do I want it warm white? Do I want it really bright? Do I want it kind of subdued? But I've always found that my rule of thumb is color match the inserts and then work on the GI. That's kind of how I've done it. So yeah.
Do you are all of yours LEDs? Have you changed all of them?
All but one at this point. Yeah, all but one.
And mine will be changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple that I've wanted to tear down to get back to.
Yes,
I
it
know.
is.
I know.
Yeah,
it is.
It is.
Well, Belle, we really appreciate this. I just looked down, and this hour has zipped by.
Yeah, it goes quick.
So, does anybody in the audience have any questions for Belle or?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. So let me say that into the mic. So she asked if there's a game that when folks come over that we turn off and put like an out of order sign on it, just to, I guess, to kind of protect it a little bit. Absolutely.
I do. Yes. Well, I've got one, and she's 14, and so she's grown up with it. And so I've got pictures of her way young, just playing and hanging around on the arcade games and stuff. So she's got a certain amount of reverence for it. So there's not a lot of chaos going on.
Wow.
There's just not a lot of rowdy activity going on there. But we have. We've got a fairly big extended family and holidays, and people come over and they just treat my stuff bad, and that's just the way it goes. I try to police it, but I don't want to be so bad on it that it's like, well, hey, these things are here for everybody to have fun. It's a balance. It's a balance, but I really clean up really hard after everybody leaves. I'll say that.
In my case, in reality, I have no children. We have kids in the family, and I'll host a major holiday every year. And when the kids were younger, I would shut all the pins off until the family got in and everything was kind of settled, and then we could kind of monitor the game room a little better. And when they're younger, they'll have a tendency to pull out a shooter rod and hang on it, or just double flip, which shouldn't hurt the machine. At the end of the day, it's commercial equipment, but it's still kind of a little grating.
It grates on you,
especially when you're in a smaller space.
Yeah.
So I personally have shut everything down, and then when we can police the space, come in and start turning stuff up. And then
I don't at all. I encourage children to play. I even have like the little stool underneath for them to stand on. And they could hurt something. I could have to fix it. Yeah, but it's mainly I think I'm trying to spread the whatever.
Love of the game.
She just made us sound terrible.
No,
she did.
No, I keep speaking about chaos. Really, maybe that's just more of me than I realize. It's really okay. They can play. Everybody can play, and that's totally okay.
Well, we got a small town. We got one traffic light in our town.
Oh,
this guy built a rolling arcade trailer.
Oh, so a gentleman in your town built a rolling arcade trailer. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
To all events, like we have Eagle Fest and stuff like that. And then if he does parties, he charges and stuff like that. So, the kids get to get in there, and he said he can get all these machines for like $1,200 or this. He can make them, stuff like that. So, I always wanted to own a laundromat, but I didn't know how to fix a washer or dryer. But if you know how to fix it,
Oh yeah, then it makes sense, and that makes I can see in his model That's what he's doing. He's dedicating the time, and he realizes the stuff's gonna. I think, and I might be speaking for you, and I definitely understand your point, Belle. Some of it, at least from my side, is a little self-preservation. I know in the back of my head it's commercial equipment. It can deal with it, absolutely. But also I know the time I've poured into it, and if I can lessen some of that maintenance when the party's over, I'll let it wait 45 minutes, and then I can be down there and just make sure everyone hey, this is how you play it, and just put all that to rest.
Yeah.
So,
It's a very fair question, though.
question?
I'm just waiting for you to comment. This is a question to Belle. Have you done any changes to your overhead lighting to reduce reflection on the playfield glass?
I haven't. Normally, I just turn the lights off, and then the ones that the back glass is a problem. I do have what are the little protectors?
That little visor.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
like
they're
a
literally
visor.
called bent
Those
plastic.
those are pretty effective.
Like at Pinball Life, is that?
I'm not sure.
There may be another Anyway.
There are some of those that's pretty effective for, but I just shut the lights off. It's in my basement. I can pull the curtain, shut the lights off, and I've always felt like it's better to play in the dark anyway.
Well, the reason I asked that question is that recently we had standard fluorescent lighting in our game room, and we recently changed this to LED tube retrofits, and it makes a dramatic difference as far as the reflectivity on the glass.
Yes.
There's a particular brand that I was just trying to look it up that works the best for us.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's a real problem though, because I know that for me when I play, I have a high degree of frustration with glare on the playfield glass because it knocks out the top third of the table, and I can't even track the ball, and I get mad. And I did give a try on the Invisiglass, and in no way, shape, or form am I going to shill for those products, but they work. They work.
Oh,
okay?
well, they from a glare reduction?
Oh my gosh,
okay,
yes. Yes. I mean, I can see. I don't have to look. I don't have to look over the glass now and try to find it, and try to find the ball and what's going on. I just look through, and you see it. So it works. Now, the only way that I could ever justify buying more of that is get it on a group buy, because you can't be throwing out that kind of money for pieces of glass. It's crazy, but it works.
I guess I'm in a
Yes.
I guess I'm in a unique situation because the basic lighting in my basement is can light, and it's offset enough from the wall that you don't get it directly down on the playfield.
Yeah.
And so you get that ambient lighting, but you also get the lighting from the game.
Yeah.
So it blends.
Well,
now when I shift over and I go full game room mode and I turn the black lights on, you would be surprised how much will interact with the black light, whether you realize they're not like a stark fluoresce in your face, but things will interact with it. And what I've actually done is I've taken black vinyl tape, just electrical tape, and I've put it on the tubes to block off portions of the radius of that tube, to keep it off the games, directly off the games, to kind of strike a balance.
Yeah, but I even noticed it walking through. I even noticed it walking through this game room at the expo here, and that's nothing. That's nothing about this expo. I noticed it at our expo in Louisville. I noticed it at TPF. I noticed it at every game show that I go to. Is that there are, just depending upon how the lights fall and where the game is, it's totally situational. I mean, it's 2 or 3 things that have to come into alignment in order for that to happen. But when it does, it's just frustrating, And you could I can walk three games down and not see the problem. So it's just one of those things. Like in my house, in my game room, I fight it. I mean, I'll walk to every game and there's a block of glare, and it's just like, it just wears me out. But yeah.
So that brings up. I've got one more question before I let you go. When you play, and I'm focusing on, because Sean, I think Sean's along for the ride here. Do you turn everything on, or do you get in a mode where I'm going to play this title and that's the only thing you turn on, and that becomes the center focus?
When I'm playing, just by myself, I just turn on one at a time. If people come over, I turn them all on.
Yeah.
How do you do that, Whitney?
I turn on. I can control each game individually in my game room. I just turn on what I want to play because I have got to be able to hear and listen to the game and focus on the game, and that is. The auditory side of the game is just as important to me as the other aspects of the game. So that's how I do it.
All right. Well, Belle, we really appreciate the time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I've had a great time.
No worries.
Next time we're gonna we can do this as a two-parter. We need a lot of content out of this because we're gonna get Sean next time and we'll do a joint thing.
Hear the other side.
He knows how it works. We'll totally change it up next time. Yeah. Well, thank you again, Belle, so much. And appreciate everyone joining.
Thank everybody for spending an hour with us. Appreciate it.